Welcome to California View. I'm Kyle, and here I'll be discussing a plan for a brand new city to be built from scratch in Solano County. Back in October 23, it became known that a private group buying up a bunch of land in Solano County is actually a big Silicon Valley investor group that wants to create a brand new utopian city out in primarily agricultural lands in southeastern Solano County. And people didn't know what to think of it at first, but in January of 24, they came forward with some details of their plan, what they want to do, and how they're going to have it be a ballot initiative in November of 24. So in this video, I want to discuss this plan, what they've come up with, and some of the ideas they've got moving forward for this brand new city. And later on in the video, I'll take the role of both a devil's advocate and an optimist to discuss the pros and cons of this and whether or not this gigantic plan might actually work. I want to first go over a few of the basics of Solano County. It's located between the Bay Area and Sacramento. It's considered part of the Bay Area Metro, but it is kind of the bridge county between the Bay Area and Sacramento. Right now, the population is about 450,000, and back in 2000, the population was 394,000, so there's been quite a bit of growth just this century. The county seat is Fairfield with about 120,000 people. The other major cities in the county are Vallejo with 126,000 and Vacaville with 102,000. And at the southern end of the county is where you have Vallejo and also Benicia, so these are right along the San Pablo Bay and the Suisun Bay. The largest part of the economy in the county is Travis Air Force Base outside of Fairfield, but agriculture and just simply being a bedroom community to the Bay Area and Sacramento has also contributed to some of the growth as well. So let's talk about this project and this group. The name of the group is Flannery Associates. They've been rebranded as California Forever as their kind of trademark name. And it consists of a group of Silicon Valley elites and other major just billionaire rich people that have invested in this. Some of the biggest people include the founder of LinkedIn, the co-founders of Stripe, some major Goldman Sachs trader, Steve Jobs' widow. So a lot of big names involved with this, a lot of big money, a lot of billionaires. And over the past 5 years, they've been purchasing a lot of land in southeast Solano counties. You can see here the parts of the county that they've purchased a lot of land and want to build this new city on. And with the purchase of all this land, they've already spent over $800 million. A lot of the land was purchased at twice or more than twice as much as market value. And many of the landowners have cattle grazing there or natural gas rights on their land. And they've been taking the money from this Flannery Associates group. The total of all of the land they purchased is over 55,000 acres or over 86 square miles. So this is almost twice the size of the city of San Francisco. And with this purchase, this Flannery Associates group is the largest landowner in all of Solano County. And I'm going to read off something verbatim from their website. So this is their own words. This project would include a new city with tens of thousands of homes, a large solar energy farm, an orchard with over 1 million new trees, and over 10,000 acres of new parks and open space. And also verbatim from their website, they want to build on bad soil that only contributes 5% of the agricultural production of the county. And that part is actually true because the part of the county in which they want to build this new city is the part that has the least agricultural production. It is quote-unquote bad soil, and most of the ag on this part of the county is cattle grazing. So if this entire plan comes to fruition, it could add about 200,000 to 400,000 people total in the county. And again, the county has about 450,000 people right now. So this project could potentially nearly double the population of the county. But they want to be able to do this in phases, and the first phase would be about 20,000 homes. And so they first want to mention how this is going to be a ballot initiative, not something they're going to force onto people. The voters of Solano County can decide whether or not they want this project. So I'm going to go back to that map and show you where they're looking to build this new community. And when you zoom in on the more community part of that map, you can see some of the more details of what they want to do and where they want to put things within this new city. Although it is nice to see they have an idea of what they want to do, it's way too early to know this kind of detail of where they're going to put things within this new town. So now I want to show some screenshots from the California Forever website itself, and I'm not sure you can read the text from a small screen, but I will go over what the text says from each little screen here. And so immediately you might be thinking, who's going to pay for all of this? This is certainly not going to be free. Well, according to this Flannery Associates group, the California Forever group, 100% of this entire gigantic project is going to be funded privately. They're promising, they're guaranteeing that the only way this thing can go forward is if it is through private funding only, no public tax dollars. So they have these big plans here. Here's Solano Homes for All. They're going to provide $400 million for community benefits funding to help residents buy new homes. But also Solano scholarships, where they promise $70 million to help people pay for college, vocational training, or to start a small business. And they're trying to be environmentally friendly by providing $30 million in benefits for protecting open space and natural habitats. And part of that does include what they're calling the Travis Security Zone, so they're going to increase the buffer around the Air Force Base to ensure that there won't be any development near it. And with that being one of the big concerns as to what this project might do, I think that does help alleviate that. Okay, so let's go back to their guarantees. One is their Solano Jobs Guarantee. So if this project doesn't create more than 15,000 new good-paying jobs, this whole project won't go beyond the first phase, which would be about 50,000 new residents added to the county. Seems like a very specific thing there. I'm not sure how they would exactly measure that. But here are some of their other guarantees towards the existing cities of the counties downtown, as well as to guaranteeing quote-unquote smart growth. The smart growth guarantee seems a little vague, but what it's trying to say is that there won't be this entire project all at once. It will be in phases, and if the first phase isn't successful, there won't be further phases. Well, what else do they guarantee? Water, transportation, and schools. And then with their schools guarantee, they guarantee they'll pay for every piece of the school, all the brick and mortar stuff to get the school off the ground. But to ensure that they're not being really creepy and having some strange cult private schools, they're going to be part of the existing community school districts. And this is the biggest guarantee they have, the Solano Taxpayer Guarantee. What they're saying is all of the initial startup for this new city, everything it takes to get it going, will be funded privately, but once it's funded, tax revenue from within it will pay for it to keep going. So essentially, once it's started, it will be chartered as a city and will have to operate just like any other city government would. Okay, now for some of the more urban planning type specifics. They want it to be very walkable and sustainable with a footprint about the size of the other 3 big cities in the county. Medium to high density neighborhoods centered around local shopping streets and schools. Each family can live within a short walk of most daily needs. Part of the plan is also 4,000 acres or 20% of the community to be used for parks or open space. So you have a plan of a bunch of mega rich people who really want this utopian city to be built out in Solano County. They've enlisted a lot of people that are experts in their fields that have to do with urban planning and transportation. They've come up with the money to pay for all this up front. They have a vision. They know what they want to do, and they want it to be on the ballot. So they want this thing to be approved by people and not forced onto them. So will it work? I'm going to take the side of a devil's advocate and an optimist. So as a skeptic, I would first have to ask, really, no public money at all? This is 100% privately funded? Investors want profit. Anybody involved in a private business wants to make money. How are you going to make money off of building a new city from scratch? Is it going to be a private city gated off? Well, it can't be, because they've already talked about how the schools are going to be part of the existing school district. So if they're just building all this up front and it's going to be just a regular city after that with taxes, how are they going to make money off this? If they sell individual plots of land to developers, they'll make money, but these are massive billionaires investing billions into this. I don't think they're going to want hundreds of millions in return from selling off some of this land. There has to be some other stream of revenue they want from this, or I'm just missing something. So as a non-economist, I don't really see the end game here for these investors. But let's just say these are kind, generous people doing this out of the kindness of their heart. So let's look at some of the other issues with this project. One would be, why wouldn't they just be expanding the current cities? Why not add 10,000 homes each to Fairfield, Vacaville, Vallejo, or whatever, as opposed to this giant new city into the corner of the county? And although I do appreciate how they have hired many experts to be part of the planning process involved with this, it's still being overseen by Silicon Valley utopian investors. So what if they don't like some of the things that these expert urban planners and transportation engineers are saying? Are they going to be Elon Musk-ish and just override what the experts are saying? Okay, another issue might be this is just too much growth at once. It's nice to have growth and a lot of new housing, but this might just be too much growth right away in one spot. There already isn't much space between the Bay Area and Sacramento, and a big city right here might just be the nail in the coffin to creating one giant megalopolis between the two. Now, to be fair, it's probably heading in that direction anyway, but this would certainly exacerbate the process. So although they have guaranteed that the highway around the city will be a big bypass, you don't have to go right through the city, what about the increased need for light rail? Will BART go out this far? That's not part of the funding for this plan. But with between 250,000 and 500,000 people moving to this one spot, there's going to be an increased need of people needing to get to either the Bay Area or Sacramento. Another issue is that it will have a huge effect on the neighboring county of Yolo, but only people in Solano County can vote on this. And Solano does border other counties as well, but Yolo is the one that goes right up against where this new town would be. And that brings me to the biggest potential problem with this whole issue is that they want it on the November ballot, but what if it doesn't pass? Let's be honest, boomers and Gen Xers are going to vote against this. They're older and set in their ways, and they're much more likely to show up at the polls. Younger people are more likely to support this, but there's a disproportionate number of older people. And plus, a big part of the county's economy is the Air Force Base there. People associated with the Air Force Base are probably not going to vote for huge growth like this. So what if voters reject this? Are these investors going to flush the $800 million that they invested in this down the toilet? Are they going to craft a new plan that's majorly scaled back and put it on the 2026 ballot? And what if voters reject the majorly scaled back version? Okay, so that's the cynical hater in me. What about the optimist dreamer? First, the site is a very good site. If you're going to build a big new city like this is about the best type of spot you can find. This is not prime farmland, it's not floodplain. It's very lightly populated in that southeast corner of the county, so you're directly affecting fewer people. And perhaps a lot of big growth here could be the catalyst to getting BART or other light rail extended from the Bay to Sacramento. And anything to get more cars off of the interstates in the Bay Area would be great. Okay, now, well, what about water? There's no water in California. One thing you can do with starting a city from scratch is have much more water conservation efforts implemented in the first place. For example, fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada doesn't really use as much water as you might think. Most of what you see there has been built in the past 30 years with newer water conservation technology and just better conservation practices to where a city out in the desert really isn't using that much water. It's much more difficult to retrofit an older city like Los Angeles or San Diego to have some of these new water conservation technologies. So this city would be starting from scratch and they can implement some of those Las Vegas style saving measures in this new city. And the same is true for power. If they're starting from scratch, they can have every house, every building have solar power built into it, which is much easier than trying to retrofit an older house with more traditional power. And in terms of the housing crisis and prices, this could only help. Again, I'm no economist, but if there were to be 20,000, 30,000 new homes built all at once that came on the market all at once, I can't imagine that they would all go for the normal inflated prices of California coastal county houses. Okay, and now for the trickiest part of this whole thing, the funding. So the devil's advocate in me says, what is the end game for these investors? The optimist says, well, maybe these are just actually good people. Maybe these really are the altruistic billionaires we've wanted all these years, the people with all this money to finally just do something good with it as opposed to just hoarding it. People that just want to do something for the benefit of society without expecting any kind of profit in return. Now my camera isn't on, I wish you could see how unstraight my face is, but let's just pretend these people really are actually altruistic and these are the really nice benevolent billionaires we've wanted all these years. Maybe some of these folks that are worth, say, $50 billion are going to put up $5 billion of their own just because they're a nice person. And if that is the case, let's say this does really go forward without any public money at all, it's just fully privately funded, and then once it's done, it just becomes a normal city running like a normal city would, then that would, to me, make this project mostly positive. But that brings me back to the devil's advocate side of, I don't think the people that live there are going to vote for this. It's an ultimate case of NIMBYism because it's something that if it went to the state ballot, it would almost certainly pass, but it wouldn't pass in the part of the state that would be the most affected by it. But yeah, it ultimately comes down to whether or not these billionaires are actually good people and are willing to just spend their money for the greater good, and will the voters in Solano County pass it? That's really all it comes down to, those two things. Even though the optimist in me wants to see this project come to completion in its utopian state, with this discussion in my head, I do believe the cynical side is winning. I'd love to see it, but I have my doubts. So that's my look at the plan for this huge project in Solano County. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to this channel for more California-specific content. But yeah, I'm Kyle, California Dreamin' from 2,000 miles away.